Welcome back to another episode of the Fall Ball Fellas. A little bit of some changes once again on this podcast because what would the world be without any changes? For the time being, it will just be me and Hunter. We are currently
Back to
talking
the
to some
OGs again.
Exactly. We're currently talking to some other individuals to hopefully get this third spot filled back up. And I know this might come as some news to Hunter. I had mentioned it briefly to him. I think to keep the consistency, we may be switching over to solely NFL. And I will say, plus Penn State football, because I still want to talk about Penn State.
We
So
could
I'm
talk
willing to
Penn
give up
State.
my
I love talking
I'm
Penn
willing
State.
I'm willing to give up my college half of this podcast. Maybe we'll talk just like national championship or playoffs when it comes around. But like in terms of talking about it day in, day out, I think it'll make everything a little bit more clean. We can focus on one sport moving forward and everything like that. So if we do get a third member here, it'll probably be in the next week or two so we can maintain some flow and consistency. But we apologize not getting content out for you guys. It's been difficult. We've just timing is bad right now. Work trips. I'm busy with school right now. So yeah, we're gonna get everything going. We got the draft coming up here soon.
We will be going through a rigorous interview process for our new third podcaster, because as we have determined and found out, we need someone that's going to stay on for a long time and hopefully throughout the rest of history of Fall Ball Fellas. So
that would be nice.
Testing.
We're vetting every candidate.
I might even have to make them put in like a deposit or something. That it's like a 3-year deposit that they have to record for 3 years and they don't get the deposit back.
That would be a little bit wild.
But you got the OGs here still. You got the GOAT squad. So, you guys aren't missing out too much. But I think we want to jump into some rule changes first, no?
Yeah, we're going to do some rule changes first. Hunter's going to bring those up. I did look at one of them because we'll talk about the wording in this one. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to be pretty much live reacting to these. He had brought it up. I know this just happened in the last week or two, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This week, I believe their meeting was.
This week. Okay. And then we'll go over I know the dude's an idiot. We can all pretty much agree Mel Kiper probably shouldn't be the big board guy for ESPN anymore. He's usually not anywhere close. And his grading of like quarterbacks and skill positions isn't the greatest. But we'll be going over his top 10 to 15. Just really quickly see if we have any discrepancies in what we would personally do. We'll do our mock drafts later down the road. But for now, we'll do some rule changes and early first round, how we feel about it. So, Hunter, let's get started here.
Before we jump into rule changes, I want to throw out kind of a fresh off the press update that I just received from a good old Addy Shefty. I don't know if you just saw it, but Puka Nacua is currently in rehab for alcohol. And I assume maybe some other substances. But there have been some videos circulating of him going partying hard, biting some females, saying some remarks against the beloved Jewish community. So currently his lawyer just stated that he has been in rehab for some time and will be in rehab for some more time following this tweet. But that is something to keep an eye out for. I'm just glad that he's catching it now. A smart thing for him to do. He's got a ton of potential moving forward in his career. So hopefully that he can get this stuff resolved, and I'm glad he's doing it in the off season and doesn't carry these problems into the season itself.
So I'm a little bit curious about this because he has received a lot of backlash over the past year with some comments he's made on air, some things he said about, I believe he said some things about officials one point when he was streaming. Like, he's still a young player. He's going into his third year now, I believe. Fourth year? Third or fourth?
Third.
I believe, yeah, I do think it's third. But yeah, he's a young guy. He's learning. I mean, he's a star already. He's a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, if we're being fully honest about it right now. And it's getting to his head a little bit. So I don't know if this is more of a publicity move on his lawyer's part and he's actually not changing much of anything. Because I've seen this happen before where they say a guy's going to rehab because it looks better to the public appeal, like someone's actually getting help. But at the end of the day, if he does genuinely have a problem, this is a positive thing. But yeah, Puka,
my
watch your back,
is,
man. Be careful.
I agree. I hope it's not a publicity stunt, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like he's already been in rehab before this
Okay.
tweet came out. So he's been
Hmm.
in there for according to the tweet from his lawyer, or the statement from his lawyer, he's been in rehab for some time now and will remain in rehab for some time. So it sounds like he's
Jeez.
actually trying to get the help he needs. So good for you, Puka. Hopefully you get better. I know that substance use, whether it's alcohol or any other drug of choice, can turn bad. So good for you for catching it early. Um, Hopefully to see you back out there in the regular season. But all right, I just wanted to throw that out there because I got that update. Let's jump into some new rule changes. So just a simple one to start out. Last year we saw that the new onside kick rule go into effect where only the losing team could declare an onside kick, and I believe there was a time stipulation to it as well. I don't remember the exact rules. Noah, do you
Only
remember?
the
Was
fourth
it
quarter. Only
was
the
it
fourth
only
quarter.
in the last 2 minutes? Oh, wasn't it the
I
half
think it
too,
was
or was
whole.
it just the fourth quarter?
It's just you. It was only the fourth quarter. You had to
Okay.
declare it while you were
Well, the
doing it
new
in the
rule
fourth quarter.
is the new rule coming back out is any team at any time in the game can declare an onside kick, which makes sense to me. I think taking away the ability to call an onside kick for any reason was kind of dumb. So I'm glad they're adding that back in. Small
Yeah.
little change, but we could see some more onside kicks this year, especially from some more aggressive coaches like Dan Campbell's of the world. So hopefully we'll see some more of those this year. Thoughts around that?
So I've never liked the rule change with it. I don't like the fact that you have to declare it. We removed
I
some of the
still don't like
coolest
that
moments
either.
in the sports with Pat McAfee doing the little like dribbler up the middle to start the second half. The Saints literally won a Super Bowl for doing an onside kick to start the second half of the Super Bowl. Like I think it removes a surprise aspect of the game. Like, oh, a team's going to go for an onside kick down a score after they just scored in the fourth quarter. Like it's a given. We remove a fun surprise element though when we said you have to declare it. I don't know what owners decided that they were scared of an onside kick. Just have one guy make sure that he's paying attention to where the ball's kicked. It's really not that difficult to handle.
I assume it probably had something to do with injuries and safeties of players. Would be my guess as to why they implemented the rule. I don't know the math or science behind it of why they did it. I'm glad that anyone at any point in the game can do it now, but I totally agree with you. I think having to declare it takes away from the game because, like you said, there's been some key moments in NFL history of fake onside kicks. So that's one of the new rule changes. I'm going to skip over the second one because that one's going to have a little bit of weird wording to it. We'll come back to that one.
Let's do
Um,
that one last. That one's making me angry.
so one of the other things for kickoffs is the alignment requirements for the receiving team has changed. I believe it's gone from 6 players have to be on the line to 5 players, so that allows one of their players to kind of drop back into a more blocking role right off the
Okay.
bat. They're hoping to get some more kick returns, is what it sounds like this year. That was the goal of the dynamic kickoff that they implemented last year, and they didn't really see too many, so they're trying to get some more kickoff returns this year. So that's a nice change. We'll see if that actually changes anything in the season.
I will say, I
Now,
don't think the adding one player back is going to do too much. Maybe add on like another yard or two of average. But I really like I know the dynamic kickoff when they were still sorting through how to adjust it to make it game ready. It was a little bit clunky, didn't seem real good. I love it now.
I agree.
I love the
I
dynamic kickoff now. It's fun.
I think it's so. I was just talking about this today. I think it's made the kicking position more important. I think like we
Yeah.
saw the Rams kicker caught on real quick on how to really kick off in these dynamic kickoffs where he dropped the ball at like the 15-yard line, let it sprinkle into you. It was like, it wasn't a squib kick, but when it landed like a squib kick. And so I think it really adds an element into the game of where kickers now are more important, right? They're instead of just kicking the ball up in the sky and just letting it land, there's some more skill to it, and I like that element. So I agree with you.
The evolution of kickers has been kind of crazy over the last 10 years of number one, you get the guys that are automatic. Like Boswell has been insane. You had the good guys back in the day like Vinatieri and Janikowski was good there for a little bit. I know I'm missing some kickers. I'm not going to list them out because I don't really want to. But you have guys that are kicking 64 plus yard field goals now. Back in the day, yeah, and when I say that 10 to 15 years ago, hitting a 64-yard field goal was like almost unheard of. And you have Cam Little doing it every other game right now. So kicking as a position has lengthened, especially with these kickoff changes, because the field position is better than it's ever been in the NFL before. You have teams starting off at like pretty much on average, like somewhere between the 30 and 35-yard line. Back in the day, I keep saying that 5 to 10 years ago, if you kicked a ball out the back of the end zone, like every kicker was doing, they started with the ball at the 20. And then to create a little bit more offense, they moved it up to the 25. And now teams are starting past the 30 pretty much every possession. If you get an extra, like a one penalty, and a team is pretty much in Cam Little field goal range right now. So or I should say one first down too. It's crazy. It's changed the game. And I will say with people are like, yeah, it's catering to the offense. It has balanced out with the scoring because they changed the clock rules.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be when you ran out of bounds, the clock stopped. Now you only get that inside the last 2 minutes of the second and fourth quarter, and then the clock runs the entire time, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm in full agreement with you there. And just to clarify for any of our maybe older audience in their, 30s, 40s, 50s, when we say back in the day, that's 10 years ago for us. I know for you guys, back in the day was probably early 2000s.
Fran Tarkenton was slinging that rock around.
Yeah, you were watching some Troy Aikman, some Emmitt Smith. So we get it.
No, way back there. We got some Morton Andersons. We got some Bernie Kosars. Come on.
All right, now you're throwing it back. We got
some old heads.
You're throwing it back.
There was no WNBA when these people were watching football.
My goodness.
No WNBA.
Right. And to move on to the next topic. So I don't know how much you've been following this, Noah. The kind of discussions going on right now with the NFL and the NFL Referee Association. Have you been following this at all?
So I just glanced at it when you told me to read that rule. Is this regarding like player personal fouls and like ejections and stuff like that?
Yeah, so this is one of the rules I'm going to get into, but I got to give some backstory to it. So now, the Referee Association, they want to become full-time. Like, they want this to be a full-time job. Right now, NFL referees, I honestly didn't really know this, but are just a part-time job. Like, a lot of these guys have other jobs that they do. And so the Referee Association wants to turn it into a full-time gig, which, could have some really good ramifications down the line, give them more time for training, make schooling a lot more, have some schooling background to it, kind of similar to how, like, it is for the MLB, for the NBA, for hockey. Obviously, for those, you have way more games, and that's why those guys have been full-time for a long time. But the NFL has never been in that same route. So right now, they're kind of in negotiations with the NFL, and it's looking like next year there might be a work stoppage for them. So the NFL is currently looking into bringing in college referees to the NFL next year if there is a work stoppage, which it's very much looking like there will be with the NFL Referee Association kind of holding out for the new contract. And this is where the new rule implement comes in. So with some more guys that haven't been trained in the NFL pro level or don't have that skill set, bringing in those college level referees they're a little worried, right? So some of the rules that they've added in is now New York will be able to call and speak with the on-field referees. This is a 1 year time. This is a 1 year deal, right? Just for the college, just for the interim of these college referees being there. They will be allowed to overturn obvious calls, any situations that involves a disqualification. They'll be they'll be calling into the on-field referees, and so like stuff like roughing the passer, clear and obvious missed calls, missed fouls. They could even overturn a foul call if it's clear and obvious that one of the stipulations to that foul was missed. And so this
Wait,
could
like what type of foul are we talking about? Like a personal foul, or are we talking like pass interference? They can pull the flag off of pass interference.
They can pull it off of pass interference. They can pull it off of personal foul, roughing the
You're okay.
passer,
I don't like
running and
that.
rushing
I
the
don't like that.
kicker. But it's only for these It's only a 1-year thing, and it only is implemented if the NFL refs have that work stoppage.
Dude,
I like it.
Okay, for what you just said, I like it. What the NFL has a habit of doing is putting in a rule for 1 year and then it just sticks.
Yeah, I mean that's something that could come, but I mean we're reaching the point, and I was having this discussion about baseball because they added in the ABS system, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love. But
Mhm.
at this point in time, it should. So the discussion I was having today is they should just turn the ABS system into an automatic thing. The ump wears an earpiece, and he just stands there and calls balls and strikes based off what the ABS tells him.
Fair.
Same thing should happen in the NFL. Everything is so instant now. We have all this technology, cameras all around the stadium. I'm sure there's a ton of people in New York that are just watching every single game, and you could have instant calls made from them, and they just call down to the refs, say, "Hey, this, missed this, whatever."
What am I supposed to get mad at during the games if they get every call right, though, Hunter? What am I supposed to get mad at?
I think that's the point.
I don't.
I gave him a call. I said, Noah is getting too mad at the refs. You need to make some sort of change. So, it could go awry. There definitely could be abuse to it. I could see that. We'll just have to kind of see what happens there.
Okay. From what you said, I do like it. This reminds me a lot because I'm assuming it's the referee union, correct? That's kind of holding out until they get a contract.
Ref association. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like I had this issue with my insurance last year where Hartford Healthcare and Cigna couldn't reach an agreement, and they're like, "Oh, millions of people are going to lose coverage from Hartford Health because they can't reach a deal." It was like with YouTube TV and ESPN as well. Very often, they get the deal done by the time it's needed. For sports, it's kind of the opposite. I feel like because you've had holdouts before. I think it was an MLB season where there was a holdout. There was a holdout for NHL, I think, in the early 2000s.
NBA had one as well.
Mm-hmm. The NFL makes too much money for there to be a holdout for the season, which is why I understand they're bringing the college officials up. And I do like that they are going to have accountability from people that do work full time in the booths. Now, my problem with the people in the booths is you have guys like Terry McAuley and who's the other guy I can't think of right now?
No clue.
Terry McAuley and the other dude, Gene Steratore. And you have them, and I love when they go on and they give their professional opinion, and then you come back from a commercial break and they've just done a complete 180 on their opinion because they are they're paid, obviously, to make the NFL officials look to put them into a positive light. So if they just disagreed with everything the officials called and were like, this guy used to be a head ref, what's going on here? There would be an issue. So I do like that they have some cohesiveness happening, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I do think that the human aspect is what makes sports awesome, and having tiny errors I'm fine with throughout a game, but it's those big calls like the cleaning up maybe the catching rule or just whatever it may be. Like you could see the college refs, a guy gets 1 foot down, they're like, "Oh, that's a good catch." Like, no, we can't have that happening. So, all right, what's the next rule? We got another one?
All right, so the last one is the one that's we're a little bit
out loud
on, and I don't know if they've officially released everything. Well, so here's the thing. So when you read off of NFL, the NFL Post, where they announce these rule changes by competition committee to eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking off from the 50-yard line. So to put into preface for anyone that doesn't understand it, you kick off from the 50 when there was a penalty that happened during the previous touchdown, and the kickoff team gets the opportunity to kick off closer to the end zone. Now, the way they're trying to make it sound is creating the incentive for more kick returns, right? This kind of tags along to the previous we were talking about with the receiving team's lineup. But everything we've been reading on some other posts like CBS Sports is they're moving it from the 35 to the 20 or the 25. Now, it doesn't make any sense in my brain why this would give more incentive for the kicking team to kick it inbounds versus out of bounds. But what I'm starting to think is the NFL hasn't officially announced the yardage yet, so I'm thinking that there's been some typos here from some of these sports networks that don't have the full news. But Noah, I know you've been looking into this since I brought it up to you previous to the pod. Give your take here.
My take is, I mean, why would you want teams to just kick the ball out of bounds every time that they get the ball at the 50? The point is to pin them back as far as you can. And I get avoiding a return is potentially the best way to do that. But also, like, it's taking away action from the game. I don't want to come back from a commercial break. Like, we got to think about the consumer here because the NFL is a TV product. I don't like when, and we'll say back in the day, 5 years ago, I'll literally just go five, when every kicker was just kicking the ball out the back of the end zone. They took a TV timeout after the extra point of a touchdown or a field goal, however the scoring was made. They would come back, the kicker would kick the ball out of bounds, and then they would go to another TV commercial. Give me some action in between those. Don't just come back to do a formality where they kick the ball out of bounds and then come back to it. So I love that they're trying to induce more game action because I feel like with the commercials and the clock rules and everything, we're getting less and less football every single year and more commercials. So I'm more than happy with this. I like the rule. I'm hoping they change the wording a little bit because it's confusing. Just both of us reading it, it makes it sound like the other team's going to start back further if the kicking team kicks it out of bounds. So let's just change the ruling there. I'm assuming it means the other way around, but whatever. I like the rule. It's getting people to play football like what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, agreed. Well, there were some other rule changes that I didn't dive too into, so I'm not going to talk about them too much. But it was basically some IR policies around, like how long someone could be on the pup for and begin their 21-day practice period. And then there were also some free agency roster changes, basically just to factor in the international games. Again, I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to talk on it, but they made something along the lines of your active roster and free agency. I believe it has something to do with how much you get more time to declare your 53-man roster prior to international games. And speaking of international games, we will have 9 this year. That is 9.
Dude,
so the NFL is very
expanding.
heavily trying to expand this to a world sport. And it'll be interesting, right? If American football is the next big world sport behind European football, are they going to switch to soccer? Because we're not changing our name. They already have a different name. We're going to keep ours, and they just changed to soccer. Even though football makes way more sense for soccer than it does
Yeah, absolutely.
for American football. I would like to talk to whoever decided that. I can guarantee he named it strictly out of spite of Europeans. Why?
Probably.
I listen. It doesn't make any sense to me, but could be interesting. They're trying to change it into a more of a world international sport than just the US. And I think what could be really interesting is I foresee international teams. And I think that could be a game changer to this sport as a whole, because that'll completely change the dynamic of away and home games for international teams. How that would look, I have no idea. This is just a prediction. We could be 10 years away, 15 years away. It could never happen. This is just a prediction because with every sport, there's always expansion. I personally
We're
would like
seeing
to
that
keep the
everywhere.
32 team dynamic. I like it. I think it's a perfect amount. But look forward to that. And Noah, I know you want to switch into some mock draft talk.
I did. Okay, so what you just said, they were talking. One of the big models that they've been talking about for college football has been the. Are you familiar with how the English Premier League for soccer runs its how its league table works and everything?
Kind of. So I watched. So I'll tell you how I a little bit understand it is from watching Ted Lasso. Right? They have like
I feel like that's
there's
how
like
most Americans know about relegation
there's
and everything.
different levels to this, and like there's the Champions League, and then there's the I don't know
Okay,
all the different
so
league
all
names,
right, all
but
right. So I'm gonna
yes, I
make this
understand
real
what you're
simple
saying.
for you because you already mixed like 7 concepts together. So you have like in England itself, every country has its own set of professional leagues. England, I believe, has like 4 or 5 leagues. How that works is you start off at obviously some leagues started at one spot, start at these spots. So if you finish in the top 3 of your league, you move up to the next league, and the last 3 teams of the league above you go down. So, Premier League is the best example of that. I believe they got relegated in the first season back down to. Did they get relegated or did they end up winning that game? I can't
They got
remember in Ted
relegated.
Lasso. They got
They got
relegated and then
relegated.
they ended up going right back. And then I think they end up winning the league in the third season. So, yeah, that's what happens is if you are one of the 3 worst teams, then you get relegated and you have to spend the whole next year trying to work yourself back up into the top division. They have been bringing up that idea when it comes to college football of maybe having what they would refer to as the Super League, where you have like 20 of the biggest brands in football playing, and we'll call that like the power conference or whatever. And then you have other leagues, and let's just say the 3 worst teams of the power conference go down. The 3 teams that were best out of like the group of 5, they'll go back up. So I could maybe see that maybe eventually working its way in. I don't think we'll get international teams because of the fan base that we have is a very American and patriotic fan base. That's what we have in the NFL. Very American, very patriotic. I think they're going to want to hold it American, and you could probably lose a lot of viewers. Now, this is not me talking about my personal preference. I just think they're going to try to cater to their fan base. So, I don't know. All right. So, I just want to go over like the first 10. So, like I said, we're going to look at Mel Kiper's big board. I have an issue with number 1. Everyone knows who's going to get drafted number 1. I don't disagree with the logic of picking Fernando Mendoza. I just don't think he's as good as people say he is. And I'm going to double down on
Crazy
that by
to say
saying
that.
the man was not even a projected top 5-round draft pick for 3 years of his career. He joins a system that runs heavy RPOs. Yes, he wins a national championship. That was Curt Cignetti. Curt Cignetti brought Indiana from a laughingstock of college football to relevancy the year before. They were a playoff team with Curtis Rourke. Curtis Rourke's horrible. They made the playoffs with a guy that should not have been playing in a Power 4 conference. Their scheme was so good. I'm not saying Fernando Mendoza is not talented, but to be a number 1 overall draft pick, I get it. It's a weak quarterback class. I get it. He won a national championship. But if you watch Mendoza's film, yeah, he's a tough runner. His pocket presence isn't amazing. He actually, like, he took quite a few sacks this year. And also, I didn't see him layer a whole lot of throws. His 2 throws were wide open slants and back shoulder throws to Charlie Becker. I like that national championship game. His wide receivers bailed him out time after time because he just chucked the ball up to Charlie Becker and he turned and made a back shoulder throw. I genuinely think.
Or did he put the ball where he knew his wide receivers could
No,
be
okay.
competitive and come back
To
and
be
get it?
fair, if you watch those, they were not great back shoulder throws. Charlie Becker had to like make an insane catch on one of them. I'm not saying he's not a
Yeah,
first
but
round
those
talent.
dudes were covered. I know exactly which pass you're talking about. That dude was locked down, and he put the ball the only spot that Charlie Becker had a chance to catch it.
What I'm saying is I don't see a lot of layering with his throws. He made a couple against Penn State in soft coverage because we were dropping
What's
30
the
yards
point you're
back
trying
to
to
avoid the
make
big
here?
play.
Is it that he's not a first? He's not.
He's not
he
a
shouldn't
first.
be
He's
the
not a
first pick?
first. He's not a first overall talent. What I'm saying is I understand because the Raiders got rid of Geno, who stunk anyways.
But you
and they needed
can't compare it to others. You can't compare it to other seasons. You can compare it to this
I
draft.
know. And that's a
And this
problem.
draft, he's a first round.
He's a
draft
first
pick.
overall pick because of the need of the Raiders and because he is the best commodity technically at quarterback right now. Yes. In other years, I don't think he's a top 7 quarterback in the draft.
But we can't compare.
This year,
we can't compare it to other years.
I can do whatever I want on this podcast. I can say that I don't think he's a number 1 overall talent-worthy player, but he's going to get drafted overall. I'm not disagreeing that the Raiders shouldn't pick him. I'm just saying I think he's just not what I would think of as a number 1 overall talent. But also, we've had guys go to the NFL at the number 1 overall pick that we thought would be amazing, and they aren't. I looked through the list a little bit more. I know and are familiar with Mendoza. I'm a bit more the college guy, so I know a lot of these college guys' film. I've never understood the Arvell Reese hype. He's projected at number 2 overall to the Jets. Jets need a little bit more help than a linebacker that had like 60 career tackles and like 7 career sacks at Ohio State. I know I just kind of pulled those numbers out of my butt. I remember looking at them a couple of weeks ago, and they were roughly around there. But the dude doesn't even – and here's where I'm curious what you think, Hunter. I know that the NFL is largely based off potential. And if you're an athletic freak like Arvell Reese is, you're going to go high in the draft based off your potential. But second overall pick for a guy that only had 60 tackles in like 4 years, his production just wasn't there. And if you can't produce at one of the best colleges in the country, what makes you think this man can produce at the next level?
I can't speak to his film or him in general.
Well, he's a freak. He's an athletic freak, but nothing productivity-wise.
That's the key. These guys aren't just looking for, obviously, talent's a big role. I'm not going to take that away.
Yeah.
But they're looking for, like you said, freak athletes. These guys that can get to the ball, can make these tackles, that are strong, they're fast, they're quick thinkers. That's coachable. Coaching in the talent, coaching in the production, that is coachable. And they look for these guys that they can coach and shape. And that's the point of being a rookie. That's why you sit out the first year. You get trained under these veterans. And so that's why I would kind of argue against the philosophy of what you're saying there. Is I think you should go for the freak athletes early on versus the talent you saw in college, because that's something that you can teach and coach up in the NFL.
I get it. And I know they had been talking about him as a draft prospect this entire year because of the athleticism he showed. Here's my thing. I would rather a guy that has freak athleticism that also has the statistics and the game film behind it to show. Does he have game film with some blow up plays? Yeah, absolutely. Most guys do if you're going to get drafted. But I want to see more productivity out of some of these guys that they're drafting that have high potential too.
But stats aren't always everything. Like you look at
productivity is like
if you look at Max Crosby's stats, he doesn't have the stats to back up how insane of a player he is, because teams adjust to counter it, and then that opens up other players on your team. So stats aren't everything.
And I'll agree with you there. For as big of an athlete as this man is, I would have expected, like if you watch his film, you'd be like, oh, this guy should have like 20 sacks in college. Like you're playing against the Purdues, the Northwesterns, all these teams of the world, and you're just not producing at that level. And I know sometimes these dudes are getting pulled out in the third quarter because they play for Ohio State. But I think we're reaching a little too high. I also think the Jets need a lot more help than a freak athlete on defense. I think we need a little bit more than that. I know there's 5 to 7 picks that they'll have. Don't think I would use my first pick in this draft to take Arvell Reese. Now, you're going to have to remind me, where did Tony P go?
Pollard?
Pollard. Yeah.
Oh, boy. I was just listening to this recently. Hold on, let me real quick look.
I can't think of it right now because I had seen Jeremiah Love is being mocked to the Titans right now to pair up with Tajay, which I actually think is great.
I see him going to the Commanders in the mock draft I'm looking at 7.
Okay. I don't think he falls behind 4. I don't think he will last.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
And once again, the Jets got Brees. Raiders don't need a running back. They obviously just got Genty.
Oh, to the Ravens.
Ravens. Oh yeah, yeah. And then the Cardinals, they could technically use a running back, but they have like a smorgasbord of guys on that team, so they could always do it, but they need help in other positions.
Didn't they just sign someone though? They just signed someone
The Cardinals did just sign someone. Yeah, it was
because
wasn't it Sean Tucker?
no, it was a bigger name than Sean Tucker.
Wait, who'd Sean Tucker sign with? I thought he signed with someone. This is free agency. It's going to probably take me another month to get used to where all these guys went. I could have sworn it was someone from the Bucks.
They got Tyler Algier.
Oh, Algier. Okay. So yeah, he can
Yeah.
burden that load a little bit. But I actually think the Titans with Cam Ward, Chimere DK started playing better down the stretch last year. I believe Ridley's still on their team. I'm not entirely sure about that, but he's just got to get healthy because he is a talented player. And if Jeremiah Love can pop off as a rookie, Titans will probably win a few more games. I could see them winning anywhere between like 6 and 8 this year and taking a step up. Outside of that, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the draft. Just from what I'm seeing in this top 10, Caleb Downs is the name I want to watch. This is the guy on Ohio State that is both a freak athlete and has the production to back it up. You need to watch Caleb Downs film. He transferred from Alabama a couple years back, went to Ohio State. He is insane. He's a safety. They have him mocked to the Giants, which I think obviously would be an excellent pickup for them. I would lean more towards Caleb Downs than Arvell Reese at that 2 spot, personally. I don't know what the Jets safety situation is looking like, so that's probably why they're not going to pick him up. But I really like that. I really do. Okay. Yeah,
I can't. I don't know these guys,
fair.
so I can't.
All right.
Can't comment.
We gotta get you up to date with a lot of these guys. I did want to say, Mel Kiper, thank you. I'm still gonna owe Hunter a little bit of money. He has Drew Aller mocked in the 2nd round, and quite frankly, if Drew Aller goes to the team that he has mocked, I think Drew Aller is going to be. I'm not going to go this far. Like 5-time Pro Bowl quarterback if he goes to the team that he's mocked at right now, because I actually think it's a good thing he dropped a little bit, because guys like Mendoza, he doesn't have the greatest offensive line. He doesn't have the greatest team surrounding him. The Raiders have been one of the worst organizations in football for 15 to 20 years. The Jets, dumpster fire every year. Browns, dumpster fire every year. The fact that he's going to potentially get a year to develop under Matt Stafford, who is a similar build quarterback who just is coming off an MVP, I genuinely feel like Drew Aller could be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL within 5 years of him becoming a starting quarterback. If he sits 1 year behind Matt Stafford, the amount of knowledge that he's going to get when it comes to accuracy can be worked on. Everyone complains about his accuracy from time to time when he's under pressure, which you just got to learn to take the hits, and the footwork in the pocket. People complain about his footwork. I've watched games where he sidesteps defenders and runs up 10 yards. Now, we got to build that consistency a little bit. We know the dude has a cannon of an arm like Stafford, and he had 0 talent at wide receiver for 3 seasons. You put him with Puka, who's wide open on crossing routes every drive. I don't know if Devontae will last this long, but you could throw a fade to Devontae. I genuinely feel like if you get to sit under a Hall of Fame level quarterback for a year to develop, you will be a good quarterback in the league. It's these guys that are thrust in to negative situations, like playing for the Jets, that they bomb their first year. Everyone blames the quarterback and says, we need a new QB. No, it's because you developed 0 talent around that player when you decided to draft them.
No, I agree with this statement here. And this has been a talk that it's kind of been coming up more, is the development of QBs in this league has dropped drastically, to your exact point. You know, these crap teams are drafting a QB early, throwing him into the starting position right off the bat, and they're not developing. They're not learning from a solid veteran QB. They're not developing their skills in the offseason, getting a couple snaps here and there in games where they're getting blown out or they are doing the blowing out. You know, so I agree with you there. I agree wholeheartedly. To say that he's a 5-time Pro Bowler, I think is crazy right away. I think Allard definitely has potential, right? He could be very good in a pro style offense. He was not used to his advantage on at at
Penn
Penn
State, yeah.
State. I totally
Yeah.
agree, but he's not a first-round draft pick, and I'm getting my
Hey, that's fine.
moolah.
That's fine. Here's
I'm
the thing.
getting
He
my
still could shift up. Who
moolah.
knows? I mean, he jumped up 2 or 3 rounds from, and people were like, oh, you don't move up because of your combine. You absolutely move up in the draft because of your combine. John Ross was an absolute no-name. He ran a, 4.22, and then he got drafted in the first round, then had one of the worst NFL careers. Someone told me that on Twitter. It was like, yeah, the combine doesn't matter. And I'm like, hey, you pretend that's a thing, buddy. But just to add on one more thing, we talked about him under Stafford. There's no one that I would trust to develop a quarterback than Sean McVay. Just no one in the NFL that I would trust to develop a quarterback more. Quarterback specifically, Andy Reid's good. Quarterback more specifically, just as a whole, is one of the positions that you need to develop the most because the college speed is so much different than the NFL.
Coach.
Dan Orlovsky, bro.
If Dan Orlovsky was a coach, I think I would trust him the most to develop a QB. He would teach him how to run out of the back of the end zone.
That's still one of the funniest plays. That was when he played for the Colts, right? When he ran out the back of the end zone, or was that for the Bucs when he did that?
Yeah. No, that was for the Colts.
Was it with the Bucs? I think it was for the Colts because I remember watching that play and I'm like,
Colts. I said Colts.
Yeah, Colts. Okay.
Are we lagging out here? Yeah, I said Colts.
No, I hear you. I think we're a little behind.
Didn't he get into
what?
Didn't he get into some hot water recently? I heard he had to make like an apology statement or something. It was with like Pat McAfee or something's going on there. I don't know.
Dude, all these announcers end up having to make like statements.
Well, it's the culture we've developed, and I don't like it. Right?
We're a soft generation.
Say some crazy stuff every once in a while. We're so soft. Everyone gets.
Stephen A. says whatever he wants to every day and never has to put out a public apology.
I know you have to have that personality, right? Mm-hmm. So there's guys and announcers and talk show people that have that personality, so they're able to get away with it. But if you don't have that, or not personality, reputation. If you don't have that reputation already, then you can't do it without getting away with it.
Bro, I wish you could see this spider on the wall right in front of me. It's a giant, I think it's a wolf spider. It's crazy.
Dude, wolf spiders are huge. Is it furry?
No, okay, there's aren't there house wolf spiders, like the tinier ones? Unless this is just a house spider. I'll take a picture.
I am not too well knowledge in this spider world. Oh my, excuse me.
I did. Oh, hey, just a little fun story. Bear got into our trash the other day. We woke up in the morning and our trash was just strewn through our front yard. It's pretty awesome. Love that the bears are back.
Now we're just getting into chit chatting, so I think
that's
gonna conclude our pod. Sorry we didn't get one out last week. Bear with us
2 weeks ago.
Go through our rigorous interview process to bring on a third podcaster. We will put them through the ringer, but you will be seeing more of us again, seeing some more. We'll be bringing trivia back out. We'll start talking about draft content next week. So keep an eye out and talk to you guys next week.
Yeah. And as always, you guys have anything to say, drop something in the comments. When we release this, I'll put some clips out with this podcast too. And if you guys want to hear NFL specifically, let us know that. It's good to hear that kind of feedback of what our listeners want to hear, because we wouldn't want you to listen if you don't like what we're talking about. So make sure, drop what you want to hear in the comments. We will see you soon. Peace out.
Love y'all. I'm out.